Allen Iverson, the man who left his stamp on basketball forever. In a world built on systems, one man refused to fit in. Allen Iverson wasn't supposed to be here, not in the NBA, not in the spotlight, and definitely not in history's memory. He was too small, too stubborn, and too raw, but sometimes greatness doesn't always follow the rules. He had a chip on his shoulder the size of Virginia, Coach Larry Brown. Pound for pound, he's the best player ever. He made being yourself okay, LeBron James. Allen Iverson made guys like me realize heart beats height, Shaquille O'Neal. He always told me, "Mama, I'm gonna buy you that house." I didn't know he'd do it this fast. And Iverson, his mother. With career averages of 26.7 points per game, 6.2 assists per game, 2.2 steals per game, a field goal percentage of 42.5%, a free throw percentage of 78%, a career average of 41.1 minutes per game, and a player efficiency rating of 20.9. But numbers alone can't measure influence. Allen Iverson didn't just play basketball, he reshaped the game to suit his image. AI made individuality cool again. He was more than a player, he became literally a movement in the NBA. The answer, the Allen Iverson story. Chapter 1, The Roots. Hampton, Virginia. Hampton wasn't easy. Jobs were scarce. Crime was rising, and opportunity often came with a price tag. For Allen Iverson, the world was teaching him toughness before he learned how to dribble. It was just me and him. I was 16 when I had him. We didn't have much, but he had that smile. He knew something good was coming. Iverson. His father was mostly absent. His mother worked any job she could find. For a while, home was wherever they could stay for the night. The two sports star. By 17, Allen Iverson was the best football player in Virginia, and he was the best basketball player too. AI became a high school legend who could throw a touchdown and also score 30 points on the same night. We used to call him Showtime. Every game was a movie. AI's old teammate, Mike Bailey. In his senior year, he had basketball averages of 31.6 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, 9.2 assists per game, and 4.5 steals per game. On the football side of things, in his senior year, he had 1,500 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 13 rushing touchdowns. Allen Iverson was destined for greatness until one night threatened it all. The bowling alley incident. A fight broke out in the Hampton bowling alley, and Iverson, barely 17, was arrested and sentenced to 15 years in prison. He was just a kid, and I thought I'd never see him play again. And Iverson. For 4 months, he sat in a correctional facility until civil rights activist and coach John Thompson came calling. I told him, "I can't promise you the NBA, but I can promise you education and a second chance." John Thompson, Georgetown coach. At Georgetown, Iverson learned discipline, defense, and dignity. Coach Thompson became the father figure he never had. Iverson's freshman year saw him record 20.4 points per game, 4.5 assists per game, and 3.0 steals per game. His sophomore year saw him improve his averages to 25.0 points per game, 4.7 assists per game, and 3.4 steals per game. He was small but fearless. When he stepped on the court, the game got louder. John Thompson. Allen Iverson left Georgetown as its all-time leader in scoring average and declared for the 1996 NBA draft. What no one knew was that was a revolution about to begin. Chapter 2, The Arrival. Draft Day 1996. It was one of the deepest drafts in NBA history, and it featured names like Kobe Bryant, Nash, and Ray Allen. But the first name called was a 6-foot point guard from Georgetown. I just kept saying, "Thank you, Jesus." All those nights, wondering how I would make it. Here he was, shaking the commissioner's hand. And Iverson. The 76ers weren't just drafting a point guard, they were drafting electricity and a culture shift. Philly arrival. Philadelphia had fallen on hard times, a team struggling for identity since the Charles Barkley era. But Iverson arrived with swagger, cornrows, and a killer crossover. He came in fearless, and at his first practice, he was already going at veterans. "You can't guard me," he said, and he was right. His teammate, Aaron McKay. Iverson's rookie season saw him average an impressive 23.5 points, 7.5 assists, 2.1 steals, and 41.6 field goal percentage. He also averaged 40.1 minutes per game. No rookie his size had ever scored this much, this fast. But Iverson wasn't just about buckets, he was a statement. The Jordan crossover. One moment changed everything. Rookie versus legend. The crossover heard and seen around the world. I gave him one, he ain't bite. Gave him another, he went for it. Allen Iverson. I didn't even know what to say. I was mad he did it, but also proud he could. Coach Larry Brown. That single move wasn't disrespect, it was a declaration. The world had just met the answer. Behind the swagger. What fans saw was confidence. What few knew was that confidence was an ammo. Iverson was fighting daily with coaches, critics, and expectations. We argued every day, but he'd still play 40 minutes, take every hit, and never back down. Coach Larry Brown. He'd show up late sometimes, but once the light came on, you couldn't question his heart, an old teammate said. The media labeled him a problem, but what they missed was a young man who had never been taught to trust the authority, and unfortunately he was now trapped in a corporate machine demanding his obedience. Rookie of the Year. In the 96-97 season rankings, he was first among rookies in points per game with 23.5 points, second in assists per game with 7.5 assists, and third in steals per game with 2.1 steals. And all of these numbers earned him the Rookie of the Year. A new basketball era in Philadelphia had begun, but unfortunately, fame came faster than peace. Conflict and culture shock. Iverson didn't fit the NBA mold. Cornrows, rap music, and diamond chains. The league had never seen a superstar who looked like the streets. People didn't get it. He wasn't trying to be a rebel. He was being himself. Teammate Eric Snow. To the fans, Iverson was authenticity personified, but to the league management, he was controversy on sneakers. The kid from Hampton had made it into the NBA, but the battles which would define his career were just getting started. Chapter 3. The Icon and the Rebel. By his second season, Allen Iverson wasn't just an athlete, he was an attitude. He brought hip-hop from the streets to the hardwood, and not everyone liked it. The league's corporate image clashed with a player who wore his truth in braids and ink, but to millions of kids who looked like him, he wasn't the problem, he was proof. He'd stop after games, still in uniform, just talking to the fans. He knew they felt seen through him. Aaron Mickey. Iverson's 97-98 season saw him average 22.0 points per game, 6.2 assists per game, 2.2 steals per game, a 41.2 field goal percentage, and a 77.3 charity shots or free throw percentage. As his numbers climbed and his fame exploded, so did tension with his coach. We fought every day, but I loved him. He just wanted to win his way, Coach Larry Brown. They practiced tension. Long before the infamous practice rants, there were warning signs. Iverson's style demanded freedom, while Coach Brown's system demanded structure. Coach wants me to run plays. I am the play. Allen Iverson. To outsiders it looked like chaos, but inside the locker room it was creative friction. Simply put, fire forging steel. Just a brief time out, guys. My analytics show that most of you watching my videos are not subscribed. So if you find value in any of my videos, kindly consider leaving a like and a comment, and a subscription to the channel would be phenomenal. Thanks in advance, guys. Let's get back to the video. Reebok and the cultural explosion. When Reebok signed Iverson in 1996, few predicted the question would become one of the best-selling sneakers of the decade. We didn't just sell shoes, we sold identity. The crossover became culture, thought Krinsky, Reebok executive. For the first time, street fashion was NBA fashion, and Allen Iverson was the blueprint. The turning point. After years of conflict, something clicked. The coach and the rebel found respect. He started trusting me. I started trusting him. That's when the magic happened. Coach Larry Brown. The 99-2000 season saw the answer average 28.4 points per game, 4.7 assists per game, 2.1 steals per game, a 42% field goal percentage, and 40.8 minutes per game. In that same season, he made his first All-NBA first team, and the league began to realize that this wasn't a phase, but it was the future. Iverson led the league in scoring again, but this time it was his defense, his 2.5 steals per game, that set the tone for a blue-collar city. The city on his back. Philadelphia embraced him because he reflected them, crashed, scarred, and still standing. He used to call me after games, say, "Mama, The crowd was so loud, I couldn't hear myself think. That made him smile. Allen Iverson. His teammates like Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, and Dikembe Mutombo formed a cast of grinders, and Allen Iverson supplied them with the spark they needed. 50 points of proof. On February 6, 2001, he scored 54 points against Cleveland. 4 nights later, 51 against the Raptors. And he wasn't just scoring in these games, he was setting statements. Through the regular season, he averaged over 31 points despite standing barely 6 feet and 165 pounds. In an era ruled by giants, the smallest man had the biggest impact. The award. On May 15, 2001, Allen Iverson was named the NBA's most valuable player. He became only the second player under 6 feet tall ever to win the award. This is for everybody my size who got told they can't. Allen Iverson. The trophy was metal and its human message was simple. Heart outweighs height. Every series was a war, and Iverson's 46 in Game 6 against the Raptors forced the decisive Game 7. In Game 7, he scored 21 points and dished out 16 assists, which is simple proof that he could share as well as shoot. By the time the finals began, Iverson had logged more minutes than any player that season, 46 minutes per night, most of them on bruised ankles. The finals versus the Lakers. The 2001 finals pitted Philadelphia's heart against the Los Angeles Lakers dynasty. Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant were unbeaten that postseason, and no one expected the Sixers to take even one game. Game 1 was an earthquake, with Iverson dropping 48 points and stealing the opener 107-101. And in overtime, one image froze forever. That step wasn't disrespect, it was declaration. Every inch of ground he'd earned since Hampton, Virginia. The Lakers won the series 4-1, but legacy isn't measured only in rings. That night, the smallest man on the court stood tallest. He called me after that game, said, "Mama, I did it my way," and he had. Allen Iverson. Chapter 5, Decline and Redemption, 2002 to 2013. After the peak. After 2001, Allen Iverson had nothing left to prove and everything left to defend. His scoring stayed elite, but the grind of 40+ minutes per night began carving his stacks. He never took a night off, but the league caught up with him physically. Coach Larry Brown. The practice moment. On May 7, 2002, one press conference would echo for decades. The 76ers had been eliminated, and the reporters questioned Iverson's commitment to practice. He said, "We're talking about practice, not a game," 22 times. But beneath the sarcasm was a man mourning the death of his best friend, Rasan Langford. The world heard attitude, but his teammates could hear his agony. People laughed, but we knew what he was going through. He wasn't angry at us, he was hot. Aaron McKee. Few relationships in sports were as combustible or as productive as Allen Iverson and Larry Brown. They argued like father and son, but each needed the other to be complete. "Coach, I just hope I made him a better man." Coach Larry Brown. When Larry Brown left in 2003, a piece of Iverson left with him. The journeyman years. In 2006, Allen Iverson joined Carmelo Anthony in Denver. In a meeting of pure scorers, the numbers dazzled, 26 points and 7 assists a night, but unfortunately, player chemistry is more than arithmetic. In Detroit with the Pistons, he fought for identity. In Memphis with the Grizzlies, he fought for minutes. Each stop, the question grew louder. Was Allen Iverson still Allen Iverson if he wasn't starting? He only knows one gear, full speed. That's both blessing and burden. Coach Michael Corey. Return to Philly and farewell. On December 7th, 2009, he returned to Philadelphia, not as the answer, but as the question reborn. When they called his name and the crowd stood, he cried, "I saw that little boy from Hampton again." Allen Iverson. He finished that season averaging 13.9 points with no farewell tour, no confetti, just gratitude. The cultural afterlife. Iverson didn't just play basketball, he altered its language. Every crossover, every sleeve, and every unfiltered word traces back to him. He's the reason small guys believed they could dominate. AI showed us swagger could coexist with skill. LeBron James. In 2013, Allen Iverson officially retired, but legends don't retire, they resonate. The quiet goodbye. On October 30th, 2013, Allen Iverson officially retires from the NBA. No confetti, no championship parade, just a microphone, a tear, and the truth. "I give everything I had to this game. I have no regrets." Allen Iverson. Left the court with knees battered, ankles taped, and a legacy unbreakable. Allen Iverson walked away, but the game kept his fingerprints. Hall of Fame. 3 years later, the answer found its place among the immortals. In 2016, Allen Iverson entered the Hall of Fame, his name etched in the game's eternal ledger. In Iverson's Hall of Fame speech, he said, quote, "Thanks to Coach Thompson for saving my life. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be standing here." Those words reference Georgetown coach John Thompson, the man who pulled him from prison and gave him purpose. The ripple effect. Every era borrows from its prophets. Kyrie's handles, Steph's confidence, Ja's fearlessness, all carry DNA that traces back to Allen Iverson. In an interview, Kyrie Irving said, "Before I was Kyrie, I was trying to be AI. I wanted that crossover, that edge." He made individuality okay. He made it cool to play like yourself. Steph Curry. Iverson turned authenticity into armor. Before him, tattoos were taboo, cornrows were rebellion, and after him, they became culture. Beyond basketball, off the court, Iverson became an ambassador of honesty, the voice of those who felt unseen, and his story wasn't that of perfection, it was that of perseverance. Just to recap, Iverson's career saw him average 26.7 points per game, 6.2 assists per game, 2.2 steals per game, a 42.5 field goal percentage, a 78.0 free throw percentage, a player efficiency rating of 20.9. His win shares stood at 99.0, while his impact per 100 possession clocked in at plus 3.1. Allen Iverson finished his career as an 11-time All-Star, a 4-time scoring champion, a 3-time steals leader, and a 2001 regular season MVP. The meaning of the answer. When Reebok crowned him the answer, it wasn't just a nickname, it was actually a prophecy. He was the answer to a generation told it had to change to belong, and he didn't just fit the mold, he went on to shatter it. The legacy lives on. Time doesn't fade icons, it refines them. For every kid who grew up too small, too loud, and too honest, Allen Iverson was proof that you can still make the world listen. He was never supposed to make it this far, but he did, and that's all I ever prayed for. And Iverson. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing to the Hoops and Rebounds channel. I'll see you in the next one, but till then, be amazing.